Okay. Hi, Ayo. Can you hear me as well?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get started without any further ado. In today's class, we'll be talking about assigning the private IPs. In the last session, we have covered what classes are, what class A, B, C, D, and E IPs are. In today's session, we'll talk about the assignment. So when you talk about private IPs, they are in your control. So you can assign them yourself or you can get them assigned automatically from a DHCP server. Those are two methods how you can get a private IP for your system. Let's see both these practically now. So in order to assign an IP manually, you'll have to go to your control panel first. In the control panel, you get to network and internet settings. Here you click on network and sharing center. Click on change adapter settings, and this will give you all the adapters available on your device. And whichever adapter you want to assign the IP for, right click on that, click on properties, IPv4 properties, Internet Protocol version 4 properties. And here, these are the two methods. Now, currently, I'm getting the IP address automatically from a DHCP server. That's the first option. If you want to assign it manually yourself, you can select the second option here and give the IP. So again, I can specify the IP here. I can give the subnet mask for class C. This is 255.255.255.0 and the default gateway, which is your router's IP. Now, along with this, when you want to connect to the internet, you also have to assign the DNS server IP. So again, don't worry what a DNS server is. I'll be explaining about this shortly. But if you don't know what to enter here, just go to your browser and in the browser, search for Google DNS server IP. And that will provide you two IP addresses. One is 8.8.8.8 and the other one is 8.8.4.4. And you can assign any of these IPs here. 8.8.8.8 or 8.8.4.4. And if I click on OK, this IP gets assigned to my Wi-Fi adapter. Okay. So in the olden days, when you were the network administrator, it was your responsibility to go to every system in the network and assign a static IP this way. So if it were a small network, like maybe 15, 20 devices, or let's say 100 devices, that's completely fine. It's manageable. You can go and assign each system a unique IP this way. But if it were larger networks, something like class B or class A, then it's quite impossible to assign each unique IP to each device. Again, as a network admin, as again a person manually doing it. So for larger networks, this might get a bit tough. So that is why you have another option called obtaining an IP address automatically, and this is done with the help of a DHCP server. It stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol Server. Okay. From the name itself, you can figure out what it does. It is to dynamically or automatically configure an IP address to every host in the network. Okay. And that is done with something called the DURA process. Okay. So you might have a question now, where is the DHCP server in my home network? To answer that, I can go back to my command prompt, and in the command prompt, I can run a command called ipconfig/all. This gives me all the properties for every interface. So now when I hit enter, you can see it also provides me the DHCP server's address in my network. So the DHCP server has the same IP as my default gateway, which indicates that my Wi-Fi router is also acting as a DHCP server. Okay. And the purpose of a DHCP server is to assign a unique IP to every device in the network. And that it does with something called DURA process. Okay. So a DHCP server has a free pool of IPs this way. And from that pool, using the DURA process, it assigns each unique device a unique IP. Okay. But what is this DURA process and how does it assign the IP? So when you connect a new device to the network, the first thing this device does is it starts broadcasting a signal called the discover signal. So it sends a discover packet to every device in the network. Now you might ask a question, how does it do that? If you remember, the last IP, the 192.168.0.255, 255th IP is called the broadcast ID. You don't assign that IP to any system. When a packet is sent to the broadcast IP, it is sent to every other device in that network. So your client first sends a packet to the broadcast IP 192.168.0.255, and that packet is then sent to every other device or broadcasted to every other device in the network. And when that packet reaches a DHCP server, it basically figures out that this packet is to find who the DHCP server is. It's trying to discover and ask every device, are you the DHCP server? So when that packet reaches all the other devices, they just ignore it. But when it reaches the DHCP server, that server responds back with an offer saying, hi, I'm the DHCP server, and I think you're looking for me, and I can offer you an available IP from the pool. So once it offers that IP, the client says, thank you, I request you to allocate that IP to my system and do not assign it to anybody else in the meanwhile. And for that request, your server says, okay, done. Confirm, this is my acknowledgement. And with that acknowledgement or confirmation, the client gets the assigned IP 192.168.0.5 in this case. Okay. And this entire procedure is called the DORA process. D for discover, O for offer, R for request, and A for acknowledgement. And I'm pretty sure you might have observed this at least once, okay, in real time. So whenever you connect your phone to a Wi-Fi router, after you enter the password and when you click on connect, for a very short duration, you see a message saying obtaining IP address. So that is when you have entered the correct credentials, you have authenticated yourself, okay, and then the Wi-Fi router starts communicating with your phone. It performs the DORA process and assigns a unique IP. Okay. If I have to show you the DHCP server practically, I can just go to my browser and log into my router here. The first IP. And what was the password? Yeah. So this is my TP-Link router at my home. I can click on network, LAN settings, and yeah, you can see my TP-Link router itself, the Wi-Fi router itself, acts as a DHCP server. It is getting the first IP in the network, and this is the pool of IPs from 2 to 199. And from that pool, each device gets a unique IP. 0.2 assigned to my desktop, 0.3 assigned to my Kali operating system, 4, 5, 6, 7, as such. Okay. So every device in the network gets a unique IP this way. Okay. So that is what a DHCP server is. Okay. So this is how you can automatically assign an IP to each system through this protocol called DHCP. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions or doubts up to this point? AO or Ashish?
No, thank you.
Perfect. Moving on. So let's talk about the next protocol, which is the DNS protocol. Now, when we talk about the DNS protocol here, this is a very simple protocol. To understand this, let's talk about the contacts application in our phone. So every phone has an application called contacts. And the main purpose of that application is to link a contact number to a contact name. So let's say if you get my phone number, the first thing you do is you save that number in the contacts app because it's not humanly possible to remember all the different numbers. Again, you might have a list of contacts of 150 or 200 or 300 or 400 contacts, and it might not be possible to remember all the numbers. Okay, so what you do is you assign a name to that number and you save it. Okay, similarly, when you go to a browser and when you enter a domain there, okay, for accessing a website, your browser doesn't actually understand what that domain is. Okay, what it actually needs to connect to that website is the public IP. Okay, so the domain name is like the contact name. Okay, and the IP address, the underlying IP address is like the contact number. Okay, and your browser doesn't have any of this information on what the contact name is and what contact number it is linked to. That information is stored on the internet's contact application, which is a DNS server. So a DNS server is like the internet's phone book, translating or converting human readable domain names into IP addresses. When we type a URL in our browser, that request goes to a DNS server first. And in that DNS server, it resolves or converts that domain name into the corresponding IP address. And then it allows your device to connect to the exact intended web server. So when I search for a domain like google.com, that request goes to the ISP. ISP sends it or forwards that request to a DNS server. And in the DNS server, you have multiple records. And in these records, you have the interlinking between a domain name and an IP address. Just like in a contacts app, how you have a linking between a contact name and a contact number. Here, there's a linking between a domain name and its underlying IP address. And once it obtains that IP address with that IP, it reaches the exact server. Okay. If I show you an example for this, if I go to my command prompt and if I run a command here, let's say ping www.google.com. Okay, so ping is a command to check for connectivity. It basically sends some packets called ICMP packets, Internet Control Messaging Protocol packets, and it waits for a response. Okay, so here my system sent 4 packets to this IP and it got 4 responses in return, which means everything is perfectly fine. The connection is proper. Okay, but when I get a reply from Google, I'm getting it from this IP, if you notice, 142, 250, 77, 132. If I copy that IP, if I go to my browser, and in my browser, if I paste that IP here, and if I hit enter, you see, it opens up Google for me. So this was the actual underlying IP for Google. But we don't have to remember this anymore because we know the domain name. Okay, and that domain is automatically converted or translated into this IP address with the help of DNS server in the background. Okay, so a DNS server is the internet's phone book, translating human readable domain names into IP addresses and vice versa. Okay, so it's the internet's phone book or the contact book. Okay, moving on. Last concept for today is special IPs, and this will be concluding the entire networking fundamentals. Okay, so in the entire range of IP addresses we have from 0000 to 255, 255, 255, 255, there are 2 special IPs. One, there's something called loopback IPs, and 2, there's something called as APIPA IPs. Now, these IPs are neither private IPs nor public IPs. They are not used for communication. They're only used for troubleshooting. Okay. Firstly, we have the loopback IP, which ranges from the number 127.0.0.0 to 127.255.255.255. So the entire 127 range octet is the loopback IP. And the main purpose of loopback IP is to check whether your NIC card is functioning properly or not. But what is an NIC card? So if you go to your browser, if you search here for NIC card, you can notice this is what an NIC card looks like. If you click on images, this here is an NIC chip. It stands for Network Interface Controller Chip. Okay. If you have a laptop and on that laptop, if you have an Ethernet port, right beside the Ethernet port, you have the NIC chip. Even if you don't have an Ethernet port, you will still have an NIC chip on your device. Okay. And this chip contains all the important networking components. The Ethernet port, the Wi-Fi chipset, the Bluetooth adapter, every single networking component is placed on this one singular chip. Okay. Again, all the physical networking components are compiled, or I would say accumulated on this one single chip. And if this chip malfunctions, your system will not be able to retrieve an IP address. Okay. And it cannot communicate with any other devices, vice versa. Okay. So to verify whether your NIC chip is working properly or not, you have the loopback IPs. To verify that, you can open up your command prompt, and in the command prompt, you can use the same ping command to ping to any of the loopback IPs in this entire range. And if you get a response back, it means your NIC card is responding back. It's working properly fine. Okay. So again, you can ping any IP, 127.0.0.1 or 255, 255, 254, any IP in between, and you get the same response. Okay. So if you were to ask me, that was a huge wastage of IP addresses. Okay. But that is how they have assigned it. Okay. And that is how it has continued. Okay. So the entire range of 127 is called loopback IP. The reason why it is called loopback is it's used to ping to your own device. You're forming a loop there. It's like you're telling yourself hi. Okay. So hence the name loopback. Okay. Then you have the next IP, which is called APIPA IPs. It stands for Automatic Private IP Assigned Addresses, APIPA. Okay. And these IP addresses range from the number 169.254.0.0 to 169.254.255.255. And these IPs are automatically assigned to your device by the operating system. Okay. But there's a special case scenario when these IPs are assigned. So if your device is unable to retrieve an IP automatically from a DHCP server, and if it's not getting an IP manually as well, in such a case, your operating system assigns an IP. That IP is called a PIPA IP. Okay, this is just to indicate that your device is not getting an IP from any other source, automatic or manual sources. Okay, so in such a case, your operating system automatically assigns a private IP, which is called a PIPA IP. Okay, automatic private IP assigned address. Okay. Yeah, so those are the two special IPs as mentioned. These are not for communication. These are only for troubleshooting, just to indicate something is wrong or if something has malfunction in your device. Okay. So, and there's one more concept called CIDR, which is basically an alternative for subnet mask, which is used in Linux operating systems, but we'll be covering this on the Linux commands class. So I'll be referring back to this over here in the Linux command session. Okay. And this here concludes the entire networking fundamentals. Okay. So again, just a quick recap on what we have learned in the last three classes, including today. We have first discussed what networking is, what networks are, and what hosts are. Okay, the main important definitions of networking, networks, and hosts. Then we have covered IP addresses, specifically IPv4, and their ranges, how to convert a binary number to a decimal number, and from that, the first IP and the last IP, and the sequence of IPs, and then the categories of IPs. What are public IPs? What are private IPs? What are classes and what are the unique ranges? What's class A? What is class B? What is class C? Okay. What are class D and class E IPs? Okay. And then today we have talked about assigning the IPs. How do you assign it manually? How do you assign it automatically from a DHCP server? What's a DNS server? And what are special IPs? Okay. One more concept left out, but we'll cover this in the Linux commands class in next week. Okay. So tomorrow will be the last demo where we'll be conducting a demo on the lab setup installation. It's going to be a practical class tomorrow. I'll show you how to install the lab setup, how to install the VMware application and the Kali Linux operating system. So that will be the last demo tomorrow. And after that, you'll have to register for the further upcoming classes. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further, guys. Any questions or doubts before we exit the session today?
Yeah, do you provide like interview questions and answers after the
Yeah,
course?
definitely. By the end of this course, you'll be getting the question and answers. You'll be getting a resume sample. You'll be getting a lot of bonus content as well. So yeah, whatever you require, just let me know. I'll be sharing that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or queries? Ashish. Okay, assuming no questions, we can exit the session here, guys. We'll connect back tomorrow for our last time. Bye bye. Good night or good day.